state of Texas is a place called home by 28.7 million people, 3 times the population of New York City. Texans are a proud breed, sometimes even a bit arrogant, but at the same time we are known as one of the most welcoming places in the country, if not the world. I am a Texan, as is everyone in this audience, and I doubt that any of us would change that. Texas has a long and rich history, and much of that history is where we got our famous Texas pride. From the land owned by the Native Americans to the first European settlers, to Texas fighting for independence from Mexico and becoming its own country, to finally joining the U.S. as its 28th state. I will do my best to cover the history of our beloved land. Before the European explorers found the New World and changed history, Texas was home to Native American tribes known as the Caddo, Apache, Comanche, Wichita, Natchez, and many, many others. These tribes spanned from the deep forests of the east side of the state to the flatlands of West Texas. These tribes varied in behavior. Some were warriors, while others were peaceful. They lived off the land and were masters of hunting, fishing, and gathering. And they did all this with homemade weapons and tools that the majority of people could never have the skill to use today. Their lives became vastly different in the 16th century when Spanish explorers found their home. In 1528, the first known explorers set foot in what is modern-day Texas. However, the land was ignored for over 160 years until the 1680s, when the first Spanish missions were established in Texas. Texas remained Spanish territory until the Mexican War of Independence that started in 1810. 11 long years later, Mexico won its independence from Spain, and in 1821, Texas became part of the newly formed country, Mexico. At the beginning, Mexican Texas was ran very similarly to Spanish Texas. Under Mexico, there were several minor disputes between the Texas territory and the Mexican government. For one, the people in Mexico's Texas were mainly settlers from the U.S. They were supposed to learn to speak Spanish and convert to Catholicism. However, most never did. Another problem was the fact that slavery was illegal in Mexico, something many Americans did not care for. Also, the land of Texas was not recognized as its own state under Mexico, making it inconvenient for its inhabitants due to the capital being so far away. All of these things and several others led to the inevitable conflict that became known as the Texas Revolution. On October 2, 1835, the first official battle of the Revolution took place, the Battle of Gonzales. And although it wasn't a major battle, it was enough to light the fire. There were numerous smaller battles, but due to the small size and relatively young Mexican army and the even newer Republic of Texas, the fighting was pretty weak on both sides. This all changed in late February of 1836, however, with the infamous Battle of the Alamo. Texas had at most 260 men, while Mexico had 1,800. The Texans fought well, killing and wounding about 500 enemy soldiers, but in the end the Mexicans' numbers were too great. All but 3 at the Alamo were killed. Among the dead were Texas legends such as Jim Bowie, William Travis, and Davy Crockett. The bravery that the men displayed served as an inspiration for the rest of the war, with Remember the Alamo being a popular battle cry. Finally, on April 21st, 1836, Texas won its independence after defeating the larger Mexican army led by President Santa Anna in the Battle of San Jacinto. The famous battle lasted only 18 minutes before the surrender of the Mexican president. As a country, Texas only lasted 10 years before becoming part of the United States. In that decade, we went through 4 presidents, with Sam Houston serving twice. The Republic of Texas was much larger than it is today, including parts of modern-day Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Kansas, and even Colorado. Due to the huge size and largely uninhabited lands, Texas became the ideal hiding spot for fugitives on the run from the United States. From the start, Texas wanted to join the U.S. and become a state, but Mexico threatened war because they still didn't recognize Texas as a country. There was also the issue that if Texas joined the Union, would it be a free or slave state? Finally, in 1845, the U.S. annexed Texas as the 28th state and as a slave state. This action started the Mexican-American War shortly after. 2 years later, America had beaten Mexico and taken not only Texas, but also parts of New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, California, and Wyoming. 16 years after becoming a state, Texas left the U.S. to join the Confederacy. This was also short-lived, however, and in 1865 we rejoined the Union. Texas has been on the straight and narrow ever since. Texas has become incredibly famous from the days of the Wild West and the Texas Rangers to the 60s with the establishment of America's team, aka the Dallas Cowboys. Texas has planted itself deep in American culture. And you will never have to ask yourself if someone is from Texas, because we will be sure to let you know the first time we meet. Due to Texas being a huge state, having a deep history, and being home to a proud people, Texas has become the stuff of legend. From the Indians to the Spanish, the Mexicans to the Americans, Texas has changed significantly over the centuries, but it always was and always will be Texas. We are an extremely proud people, but no one else is more welcoming. No place is better barbecue or Tex-Mex, and nowhere else in the world can you see the Lone Star waving in the wind and admire the beauty of a field of blue bonnets. God bless America, and God bless Texas.